If you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, first, AI is going to come for blue-collar labor, going exactly the other direction. Also, I think a lot of people work jobs they hate.
I mean, the real fascinating crypto is Bitcoin.
I'm excited about Bitcoin too, but I think this idea that we have a global currency that is outside of the control of any government is a super logical and important step on the tech tree. I think is a major force against it because it's harder to hide stuff.
How many fucking times I've got up to go to the bathroom first thing in the morning and spent an hour just sitting on the toilet scrolling through Instagram, like for nothing. Does zero for me. I get this like low-level anxiety from scrolling through things. I don't even have any apps on my new phone.
这期 OpenAI 的 CEO Sam Altman 会告诉你 AI 将会取代哪些工作。让我意外的是，最先被取代的居然不是司机，而是那我们又该如何提早做准备，并且和 YouTube、Instagram 上拥有超过1900万粉丝，以及2024年 Spotify 上全球第一的 Podcast 主持人 Joe Rogan 探讨一个我从没想过的议题：政府控制货币真的好吗？还是变相集权加速政府的腐败？为什么我们普通人不能拥有货币自主权呢？最后，现代人必备的社交软体 Facebook、Instagram、TikTok、Twitter， 为什么 Sam 和 Joe 故意删除这些 App， 认为不滑手机反而更有钱？难道造成我们财富的落差来自于是否删除这些 App 吗？如果2025年想要提升收入，变得更快乐，千万别错过这次的访谈。嗨，我是 Emma， 带你在币圈趋势中打造属于自己的被动收入。在我们开始前，可以请你帮个忙吗？ YouTube 后台显示有 72% 的观众还没订阅频道。如果你喜欢我们的影片，免费支持我们的方式就是点下订阅按钮。每周日都能收到币圈最新的消息，更不会错过任何的财富密码哟。谢谢。
I think it's going to be a great thing, but I think it's not going to be all a great thing. And that is where I think that's where all of the complexity comes in.
You think about the people that currently rely on jobs that AI will replace. When you think about whether it's truck drivers or automation workers, people that work in factory assembly lines, what, if anything, what strategies can be put to mitigate the negative downsides of those jobs being eliminated by AI?
I'll talk about some general thoughts, but I find making very specific predictions difficult because the way the technology goes has been so different than even my own intuitions, or certainly my own intuitions.
Maybe we should stop there and back up a little. What were your initial thoughts?
If you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, first, AI is going to come for blue-collar labor, basically. It's going to drive trucks and do factory work, and, it'll handle heavy machinery. Then maybe after that, it'll do, like, some kinds of cognitive labor, but it won't be off doing what I think of personally as the really hard stuff. It won't be off proving new mathematical theorems. It won't be off, discovering new science. Won't be off writing code. And then eventually, maybe last of all, maybe never, because human creativity is this magic special thing. Last of all, it'll come for the creative jobs. That's what I would have said. Now, it looks to me like, and for a while, AI is much better at doing tasks than doing jobs. It can do these little pieces super well, but sometimes it goes off the rails. It can't keep very long coherence. So people are instead just able to do their existing jobs way more productively. But you really still need the human there today. And then B, it's going exactly the other direction. It could do the creative work first, stuff like coding second. They can do things like other kinds of cognitive labor third. And we're the furthest away from humanoid robots.
So back to the initial question. If we do have something that completely eliminates factory workers, completely eliminates truck drivers, delivery drivers, things along those lines, that creates this massive vacuum in our society.
So I think there's things that we're going to do that are good to do, but not sufficient. So I think at some point we will do something like a UBI or some other kind of like very long-term unemployment insurance something, but we'll have some way of giving people, like redistributing money in society as a cushion for people as people figure out the new jobs. But, and maybe I should touch on that. I'm not a believer at all that there won't be lots of new jobs. I think human creativity, desire for status, wanting different ways to compete, invent new things, feel part of a community, feel valued, that's not going to go anywhere. But again, that doesn't, to the point we started with, that doesn't provide like great solace to people who are losing their jobs today. So saying there's going to be this great indefinite stuff in the future, people are like, what are we doing today? So, you know, I think we will, as a society, do things like UBI and other ways of redistribution, but I don't think that gets at the core of what people want. I think what people want is like agency, self-determination, the ability to play a role in architecting the future along with the rest of society, the ability to express themselves and create something meaningful to them. And also, I think a lot of people work jobs they hate, and I think we as a society are always a little bit confused about whether we want to work more or work less. But somehow that we all get to do something meaningful, and we all get to play our role in driving the future forward. That's really important. And what I hope is, as those long-haul truck driving jobs go away, which, you know, people have been wrong about predicting how fast that's going to happen, but it's going to happen. We figure out not just a way to solve the economic problem by like giving people the equivalent of money every month, but that there's a way that, and we've had a lot of ideas about this, there's a way that we like share ownership and decision-making over the future.
英国著名科学家 Stephen 霍金警告，开发 AI 将导致人类灭亡，因为 AI 进步的速度远远快于人类的发展，所以将会逐步取代许多工作机会。可怕的是，这个趋势正在发生。根据四大会计师事务所 PwC 的研究表示，未来将有700万个工作会被 AI 取代，并列出未来10大最容易被淘汰的职业。快来看看有你正在从事或是未来3年想从事的工作吗？如果有的话，真的要提早做准备。这10个工作是： 1. 电话推销员， 2. 会计师， 3. 保险和福利经理， 4. 柜台接待员， 5. 快递人员， 6. 零售销售人员， 7. 校对人员， 8. IT 专员， 9. 市场研究分析师， 10. 广告销售人员。这些被淘汰的工作都有什么共同点呢？重复性高，情感需求低。那我们该怎么办？哪些工作最不容易被取代呢？短期上来说， PwC 建议要往科学、技术、工程、艺术与设计和数学等5方面发展，并且我们要学习如何和机器合作。但长期来说，真的没有一辈子的工作。那除了等着被淘汰，还有其他解决方法吗？当然有，趁现在开始打造被动收入，不要将鸡蛋都放在一个篮子，就是现在的工作上，而是有第2份、第3份收入。那不论世界怎么变化，我们都能更好的应对。2014年，我在 PwC 工作，每天加班工作12个小时，但我不愿意这样过一辈子，所以积极寻找其他的赚钱机会，进入币圈投资。原本只是想要多一份被动收入，没想到竟然加速实现当初想投资的目标，脱离有毒的职场环境，成功开除老板。更开心的是，我也成功帮助来自台湾、杜拜、香港的上班族们在30天实现躺平赚钱的目标，甚至受邀到香港分享这段投资经历。虽然这时代已经没有一辈子的工作，但有一份好的被动收入可以让我们安心生活一辈子。如果这也是你想要的，我准备了一个45分钟的免费影片，分享自己是如何从什么都不懂的投资新手到现在成功打造一份稳定安心的被动收入。你可以在资讯栏的第1条连结中找到，相信一定能帮助你更好面对 AI 革命。
If AI could make every scientific discovery, but we still had human presidents, you think we'd be okay?
No, Because those creeps would still be pocketing money, and they'd have offshore accounts, and it would always be a weird thing of corruption and how to mitigate that corruption, which is also one of the fascinating things about the current state of technology is that we're so much more aware of corruption. We're so much more, there's so much independent reporting, and we're so much more cognizant of the actual problems that are in place.
This is really great. One of the things that I've observed, obviously many other people too, is corruption is such an incredible hindrance to getting anything done in a society to make it forward progress. And, my worldview had been more US-centric when I was younger. And as I've just studied the world more and had to work in more places in the world, it's amazing how much corruption there still is. But the shift to a technologically enabled world, I think, is a major force against it because it's harder to hide stuff. And I do think corruption in the world will keep trending down.
Because of its exposure.
Yeah.
Through technology.
It comes at a cost, and I think the loss that I am very worried about how far the surveillance state could go here. But in a world where payments, for example, are no longer like bags of cash, but done somehow digitally, and somebody, even if you're using Bitcoin, can watch those flows. I think that's a corruption reducing thing. I
agree, but I'm very worried about central bank digital currency and that being tied to a social credit score. That scares
super against.
Yeah, that scares the shit out of me.
Super against.
And the push to that that's not for the overall good of society. That's for control. The real fascinating crypto is Bitcoin. To me, that's the one that I think has the most likely possibility of becoming a universal viable currency. And it's limited in the amount that there can be. It's, people mine it with their own computer. It's that to me is very fascinating. And I love the fact that it's been implemented. And that at least I've had Andreas Antonopoulos on the podcast, and when he talks about it, he's living it. He's spending all of his money. Everything he gets paid is in Bitcoin. He pays his rent in Bitcoin. Everything he does is in Bitcoin.
I helped start a project called WorldCoin a few years ago. And so I've gotten to learn more about the space. I'm excited about it for the same reasons. I'm excited about Bitcoin too. But I think this idea that we have a global currency that is outside of the control of any government is a super logical and important step on the tech tree.
Yeah, agreed. Why should the government control currency? The government should be dealing with all the pressing environmental, social, infrastructure issues, foreign policy issues, economic issues, the things that we need to be governed in order to have a peaceful and prosperous society that's equal and equitable.
为什么政府要控制货币呢？老实说，这个问题我从来没有想过，因为从小对钱的概念就是政府发行的货币。但随着对于经济的了解，才慢慢发现这个可怕的事实，那就是钱会越来越没有价值。让人更压抑的是，问题就出在发行钱的政府身上。美元是目前最好的货币，而这是美元过去100年的实质购买力，100年来贬值超过 96%， 是不是超可怕？所以我才开始认识比特币，投资比特币。2021年投资时，比特币才3万美元，没想到2025年已经上涨3倍，超过10万美元，真的很开心能跟上这波趋势。所以，如果你也不想让存款越来越没有价值，想让资产翻倍，我准备一份比特币懒人包，帮助你把握这次的时代红利。这份懒人包总结我过去4年在比特币投资中的成功与失败经验，分享了正确的投资心态和实用步骤。你可以在资讯栏的第2条连结中找到。目前已有超过500人领取，早早享受到了投资的回报。只要花3分钟看完，说不定下一位资产翻倍的就是你哦。
It's true that violence in the world has obviously gone down a lot over the decades, but emotional violence is up a lot, and the internet has been horrible for that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to walk over there and punch you because you look like a big, strong guy. You're going to punch me back. And also there's a societal convention not to do that. But if I didn't know you, I might like send a mean tweet about you, and I feel nothing on that.
Yeah.
And clearly that has become like a mega epidemic in society that we did not evolve the biological constraints on somehow.
Yeah.
And I'm actually very worried about how much that's already destabilized us and made us all miserable.
It's certainly accentuated it. It's exacerbated all of our problems. If you read Jonathan Haidt's book, The Coddling of the American Mind, have you read it?
Great book.
Yeah, it's a great book, and it's very damaging to women, particularly young girls. Young girls growing up, there's a direct correlation between the invention of social media, the introduction to the iPhone, self-harm, suicide, online bullying. People have always talked shit about people when no one's around.
I think
the fact that they're doing it now openly to harm people.
Horrible, obviously.
Online.
I think it's super damaging to men too. Maybe they just like talk about it less, but I don't think any of us are like set up for this.
No one's set up for it. And, I think famous people know that more than anyone.
Well, we all get used to it.
Yeah. You just get numb to it. Or if you're wise, you don't engage. I don't engage. I don't even have any apps on my new phone.
Yeah.
I've decided, I got a new phone and I decided, okay, nothing.
That's really smart.
No Twitter. So I have a separate phone that if I have to post something I pick up. But all I get on my new phone is text messages.
And is that more just to like keep your mind pure and unpolluted? Yeah.
And not tempt myself into just... Do you know how many fucking times I've got up to go to the bathroom first thing in the morning and spent an hour just sitting on the toilet scrolling through Instagram, like for nothing? It does zero for me. And there's this thought that I'm going to get something out of it.
I was thinking actually just yesterday about how, we all have talked for so long about these algorithmic feeds are going to manipulate us in these big ways, and that will happen. But in the small ways already where like, scrolling Instagram is not even that fulfilling. Like you finish that hour and you're like, I know that was a waste of my time.
Yeah.
But it was like over the threshold where you couldn't quite, it's hard to put the phone down.
Right. You're just hoping that the next one's going to be interesting. And every now and then, the problem is every like 30th or 40th reel that I click on is wild.
I wonder, by the way, if that's more powerful than if everyone was wild, if everyone was great.
Sure.
It's like the slot
machine effect. You have to mine for gold.
Yeah.
You don't just go out and pick it like daisies where it's out in the field everywhere.
If the algorithm is like intentionally feeding you some shit along the way.
Yeah. Well, there's just a lot of shit out there, unfortunately. But it's just in terms of, I was talking to Sean O'Malley, who's this UFC fighter, who's, obviously has a very strong mind, really interesting guy. But one of the things that Sean said is like, I get this like low-level anxiety from scrolling through things, and I don't know why. Like, what is that? And I think it's part of the logical mind realizes this is a massive waste of your resources.
I also deleted a bunch of that stuff off my phone because I just didn't have the self-control. I mean, I had the self-control to delete it, but like not to stop once I was scrolling through.
Yeah.
And so I think we're just like, we're getting attention hacked in some ways. There's some good to it too, but we don't yet have the stuff in place, the tools, the societal norms, whatever, to modulate it well.
Right. And we're not designed for it. This is a completely new technology that, again, hijacks our human reward systems and hijacks all of the checks and balances that are in place for communication.
币圈一天，人间10年，而币圈资讯最快的地方就是在 Twitter 上。但也是最容易引发人焦虑、痛苦的地方。该如何在赚钱和痛苦间取得平衡？我想这也是现代人的必修课。今天大家来投资币圈，当然是为了赚钱。可是赚钱不是我们活着的目的，而是让我们过得更自由、快乐的方法。所以我自己是设定一天只能看社交媒体1小时，确保自己有接收到资讯，但又不会过度上瘾。 也好奇你是怎么做的呢？欢迎在底下留言分享。我是 Emma， 还会继续分享关于币圈投资被动收入的经验。记得按赞、订阅、开启旁边的小铃铛，并打开全部，还有 follow 我的 IG 哦，那你就不会错过这些知识了。我们下周见，拜拜。